Here come the men in black. Here come the men in black. Here come the men in black.
So yeah, last time I talked about my modeling attempts and how it didn't turn out. So today I thought I would do the next series of me trying to getting into acting. So I briefly mentioned in my previous video, and if you guys haven't checked it out, please go and check it out. That ever since I was young, I always knew that I want to end up in a creative industry and being an artist of some sort without knowing what I would do. And one of that, at certain points, were acting. In my opinion, the actors and actresses working in different markets and a little bit of different market as in like different countries, but also market in terms of like television or film or even like indie films or stuff like that. It's always very different, but still I think that if you find your character and if you find the right sort of channel, not as in like TV channel, but your own channel to really that must be my boyfriend. So yeah, so that, let me go back to where I was, and I'm gonna connect with my phone call actually. So jumping to right now, yes, there have been times where I try to get into acting or try to get into that mindset and then try to find out information on like how I can actually act. But mostly in my head it was in a foreign market. It wasn't really in Korea. So yeah, and actually cut to the chase, what's happening now is that I think I probably said this before, I'm not sure. So there is this castle near my boyfriend's house, my boyfriend's parents' house in France, where we're staying, and his mother saw this like notice on a newspaper that they're searching for 250 extras to be joining the filming for this Chinese soap drama. I think I said this before. And then, so she sent me this, this notice on the newspaper, and then there was an email address of the casting director or the casting people. So I sent an email with an application that explains my name and stuff like that, and then I have to attach like profile pictures and like a sort of with an evening outfit. And then there was a part where it mentions like if you have this kind of card that allows you to stay and until which date, which is a card that I don't have because I entered France as a tourist. And for Koreans, we can stay there 90 days without having visa if it's only for like traveling purposes. You cannot work like that because you have no visa. And so that application required you to have some sort of a visa or some kind of card that the French immigration will give to the foreigners. So right now my boyfriend's trying to find out if I can get this card before I have to leave Europe or the Schengen zone, because according to my calculation, like the 6th is like the last day that I can stay here, unless I probably escape to England a little bit. And then so if I can get that card, I could be an extra in a Chinese soap opera. Or if things work out, because they were quite interested, I guess by looking at my picture and my profile, they were like, oh, if I can speak Chinese, I could get better part. And I do not speak Chinese, but I can read if it's written in like the English dictation, because I know how the intonation works. I've taken 1 month of Chinese class way back before. So I could read off the script, but I would still need to practice and I would still need to memorize it. So still a challenge, but like I'm getting into acting somehow in France for a Chinese production. So hello, it could be good. And this is interesting because this is not out of nowhere that it came to me. So that's what I want to talk to you about me getting sort of into acting or how I tried before.
Here come the men in black.
So when I imagine of acting or becoming an actress, you're probably gonna laugh at this, but I always dreamt of going into Hollywood. There are a number of reasons I thought of that, and one of the biggest reasons was because I felt like either in Hollywood or in a film market that's abroad, you are not sort of a product where you are being tamed by your boss or your agency to play whatever role. I felt like if you really found yourself with the right role, you can really accentuate your own characteristic or your own character to the maximum. Whereas I felt in Korea, the actors and actresses they're more like entertainers, and they usually don't really have their own character, but they're really just playing the character that they get the role of. I'm probably wrong because there's also lots of actors and actresses who have had to fit into a role in Hollywood and had to sort of like be outside of their own box in order to be casted in a film. But I think at the end of the day, if you manage to pull off a role pretty well, even if you're completely different from this role that you're playing, you're an artist who acts. Whereas in Korea, I thought, okay, you act, but it's less of an artist. It's more like just like a job or a function that you have to play. So I wanted to take advantage that I can speak English, and I wanted to always dreamt of like getting into Hollywood. So like my dreams are always too high up there or too unrealistic maybe. But because of this unrealistic dream, I once endeavored to go into Hollywood or sort of in that area to sort of get some training and have a chance in front of casting directors. And you're gonna laugh at the name of the company that I went to do this with. The name of the company was called HHHIF, as in, hey Hollywood, here I come. So it's C. Hello, what kind of company is that? And my friend who knew I was doing this, paying about 1 month's salary off of what I was making in the department store, which was inclusive of, non-inclusive of the airfare, but only inclusive of sort of getting the acting classes, non-inclusive of taking actress like profile pictures that you give out to the casting directors. They had a couple of other sessions that they arranged for you to talk with lawyers in order for you to be working in Hollywood or staying in LA to sort of getting into acting when you're a foreigner. And then I think it was like 3 or 4 days program. And then the last part was final day, where it was full day of casting. So we had like 3 or 4 days to prepare a monologue. And then we had several other workshops that we learned how to act in Stella Adler Acting Academy. Sorry. on Hollywood Boulevard, or sorry, yeah, on Sunset Boulevard. Um, and then the purpose of that was for you to master your monologue that you find by yourself. You have workshop with other participants who are doing that with you. You help each other, you critique each other, stuff like that. And then on the final day, you would have like 2 sessions of casting. So you have in the morning and in the afternoon. And basically, it was going into a room with a row full of casting directors, and I have no idea where they're from. They could even be paid to do that, but I don't know. I think part of them were from like television networks, or part of them were from a couple of famous studios around there. But it wasn't given. It wasn't given, but we just knew, or we did as if we're doing in front of casting directors, because they were at that point casting directors. And then we would do our monologue. So one person at each time would go inside, so you don't really get to see other people's, but you've seen in the workshop. So what I chose to do at that monologue was there's this favorite book of mine called Free Food for Millionaires. It has been my go-to book since like 2010. I first found it at the airport when my family went to drop off my brother, who was leaving to go to study in San Francisco. And then when on our way back, my dad and I just popped into this bookstore that was at the airport, and I happened to found this book, and I picked it up, and that was how I bought it. But ever since, like, I think it was kind of like a coincidence that I found it like that. I didn't have to, like, search it or something. I just happened to have found it in a bookstore near to me at that time, and it ended up being like the book that I'm completely sort of attached to in terms of the couple of characters that are inside. So it's written by this author who is Korean American, and her name is Lee Min Jin. And she was a former lawyer, but then she quit her job to become a full-time writer. And I think this is one of her first book ever published. And it was like New York Times bestseller, and on top of a lot of bestseller list, because it was good, I guess. It's surrounding a character who is Korean American, but who is second generation, so who goes through obstacles with her first generation immigrant parents, and then like the world that she's living in. And like I said a couple of times before, I never lived in the US. And why I have this accent, I know it's not even perfectly American, but because I had influence of my friends. But where I learned to speak English was actually in Britain. So I have British accent when I turn it on, and when I'm with like Brits or Aussies or Kiwi, when it's much easier for me to speak in British accent. And then I would go back to like American accent, because I've been surrounded by so many of my Korean friends who had gone to international schools or who had stayed in America. And it's just way better. And I actually practiced to get this. So yeah, that's about my accent. So anyway, although I've never lived there, when I read the book, I felt the things that happens inside the book are so close to my life. And the main character itself, whose name is Casey, like her state of mind, her like sort of vision for life, her status, in terms of where she is in life, in terms of where she is in love, and in terms of where she is with her family. It was something very similar to what had happened in my life. And I felt like if I ever want to become an actress, like I would want to write this book into a screenplay and play the main character. And that was sort of my version of how I would debut to become an actress. So I took this part of book to exert it into the monologue that I would do at the casting, and I did that monologue. I have no trace, I have no video of me practicing back then. I probably just have a couple of photos that I took with the people that I met at that time. So I don't have a bunch of memories that I left from then, but that was something that I really tried for real, because I actually went to Hollywood, flew from Korea, and then tried in front of like casting directors, like full flat. And the monologue that I did was actually something that is kind of supposed to be very sad in a way, pathetic, and it's not like sad as in like emotional, but it was getting emotional and sad in terms of like spitting out your inner like inner conflicts that you've been having to your parents. So you're kind of like screaming, getting a bit angry, and then you have tears and stuff like that. But it was something that's supposed to be like not funny. And then when the casting directors finished to see my monologue, they were like, "You are a bubbly, charming person, and this monologue would be good if you did it in a funny way." And one of them even mentioned something like Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde. You're kind of like serious in a way, but you have this like bubbly, funny, charming character, so you would probably fit better in a comedy. Which I'm not surprised to hear, but it was like interesting, because I like to make people laugh. I like to pinpoint things that will make people laugh when I'm with other group of people. But I didn't know like they would see it right away when I'm doing like a monologue that's completely different from that. So there you go. That was my attempt to sort of act. And right now that I have this like extra role like in front of me, I have the visa issue coming, so I'm trying to solve it next week, and probably like I probably will have to escape to England. I don't know, but I don't know if that will go well. Let's see if my entertainment spirit was actually to become an actress, and I would love to. So let's see. Thank you guys for listening to my pathetic life story, and I also really hope that I would make a full stop to it, meaning like I would find the thing, whether it be a model that was finished, whether it be acting. We're going to see. Thanks guys, see you next time, bye.
It's the MIBs. Here come the MIBs.
Here come the men in black. They won't let you remember.
Guys dressed in black, remember that, just in case we ever face to face and make contact. The title held by me, MIB, means what you think you saw, you did not see. So don't blink, be what was there is now on. Black suit with the black Ray-Bans on, walk in shadow, move in silence, guard against extraterrestrial violence. We ain't on no government list, we don't exist, no names and no fingerprints. It's all some